This is the man behind one of the two most successful private space companies, Jeff Bezos. You might know him as the guy who founded Amazon or the richest man on earth, but in this story, he is the founder of Blue Origin, the private space company that aspires to enable a future where millions of people are living and working in space to benefit Earth. Jeff Bezos reportedly spent over $1 billion every year on multiple projects, including building human habitats on the moon or building a reusable rocket for space tourism. But there is one critical problem with Blue Origin's business: its profitability. That over the past 20 years since its funding, it has not made any money yet. So let's start from there. Let's talk about why is it a great company like Blue Origin isn't able to make money for over 20 years. Well, this goes to the nature of the industry. The whole industry started in the 1950s out of the fear of a nuclear war between the two superpowers, the United States and USSR. Remember the terrible mistakes we made at the beginning of the last century? The two world wars? They were fought with tanks in the first one and then fighter jets in the second. But as technology progressed, it was clear to the two superpowers that the future wars will be fought with missiles at a longer and longer range. And suddenly, this happened.
October the 4th, 1957, and the world's press announces the miracle of the age. The Russians have successfully launched the first satellite ever to circle the Earth.
No. None of these happy feelings. This.
Age of the rocket, which travels out, the satellite, which surrounds all of us, and the missile, which could destroy. Do we end up in a nuclear war, or do we try to live with the constant fear of war?
People in our generation will never understand the fear this brought to the United States population.
Gets the American people alarmed that a foreign country, especially an enemy country, can do this.
Definitely alarming. What do you think about America not being able to do the same?
Well, if I was in military service and fell down on a job like that, I could stand a court-martial.
We think of space in the lens of peaceful exploration and adventures, but nothing in the 1950s can convince either the United States or the Soviets the other side was peaceful. Not their nuclear capabilities, not their terrible failures in the Korean Peninsula. At the height of the Cold War, the United States mustn't allow the red communists in Soviet Union to possess more advanced technologies that exercises Americans' imagination, and worst of all, the possibility of using this technology to launch a nuclear warhead that can reach the United States mainland in just 30 minutes. It was a fight that the United States cannot lose. And the rest is history. The United States activated its industrial prowess, built the most powerful rocket on Earth, the Saturn V, and landed humans on the moon. It has won the space race decisively. By the time 1991, the Soviet Union had collapsed, and everyone is adjusting to the new norm. But the trouble for the space industry has only begun. You see, building rockets has never been a profitable business. The Apollo mission has costed the United States over $260 billion for basically a few extravagant trips to the moon. The space shuttle and the International Space Station has also been very costly for few scalable economic benefits. Businesses must deliver products that customers want and keep making profits to pay the investors. The lack of customers for the space industry means that the United States government must have an interest in funding the space endeavor, which is not sustainable. This is also why most space companies until recent years have been defense companies like Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and Raytheon, because the capability required to get customers is to maintain a good relationship with congressmen who's in charge of the United States Appropriations Committee. People often think that if you're doing the hardest thing in the world, you should be rewarded handsomely in return. But sadly, that's not how businesses work. I want to show you this chart. It shows NASA's funding as a percentage of the federal budget. We can see the clear rise of funding in the 60s at the height of the Cold War to almost 5%. And then a dramatic decline after the United States won the space race, dropping to 0.5% in 2020. Space industry relies heavily on government funding, and the lack of it left a stagnant industry all the way until the turn of the century. This was when Blue Origin and SpaceX entered the picture. Born in the new century, they have taken a different approach. On the cost side, both have decided that reusability is necessary to make this business viable, and on the revenue side, both have decided to innovate and create new customers. SpaceX is now building its Starlink infrastructure, and Blue Origin is betting on space tourism. But again, Blue Origin has a profitability problem. How is it going to make billions of dollars by sending people to space? SpaceX numbers are easy to understand. Starlink charges $1,200 a year with an upfront cost of $500 for the receiver dish. FCC shares that there are around 20 million US citizens without a stable internet access in rural America. That means if SpaceX gets 5% of these population, it could make over $1 billion a year. Spread it over many years, you get a good business. But what will the calculation for Blue Origin look like? And how much is it going to cost? And the ultimate question, I'm afraid, is this. If SpaceX sets up a similar tourism program with Falcon 9, or better still, the Starship, how is Blue Origin going to compete with SpaceX in the same market? Frankly, I do not have a positive answer for Blue Origin. SpaceX has a proven orbital technology and Blue Origin doesn't. SpaceX has a near perfect track record of launches beyond the low Earth orbit, which is years ahead Blue Origin's current level of technology. Until Blue Origin finds a viable market for its capability, Jeff Bezos will have a hard time running this business. Truth be told, it is unfair to compare Blue Origin with SpaceX right now. SpaceX's first successful LEO launches was in 2008, and Blue Origin has not reached this stage yet. Right now, it is probably going through the technical grind to reach orbital and land at the same time with its new Glenn. But all that said and done, Jeff Bezos still have one more trick up his sleeve. He's rich. With $100 billion in his pocket, it's up to him to share with us when and if his company plans to make money in the first place. The space launchers industry is a very curious, unique case in the world of businesses because it is completely solely funded by the government. It is a government-led model. For decades over decades, there's no other very little customers in the commercial sector, and everything has to be funded by the US government. And because of that, traditionally a lot of companies are from the defense industry, like Lockheed Martin and Boeing. But everything changed, I think, after the first decades of this century, and that is a very exciting development. Just last year, there was a piece of news basically saying that the United States House of Appropriations Committee has decided to deny the additional funding for NASA's moon program, basically notch it down from $25 billion to $22 billion, a big blow, I think, for the moon program. But the good thing is, because of the development in this space industry with companies like Blue Origin and SpaceX trying to find commercial applications for space launchers, we're now in a very exciting position, especially with SpaceX Starlink, with really promising business possibilities. Revenues ranges in the level of billions. I really have a very exciting outlook for this industry. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sticking around, by the way. I mean, I haven't been uploading for quite a long time. There's just been a lot of changes in my life, and I have to adjust to it, and I promise I'll maybe talk about it sometimes in the future. Anyways, thank you for watching. I have a very exciting plan for this channel. We'll talk about business, we'll talk about technology, and we'll talk about disruptions like what's going on in the space industry. I'll see you in the next one.